Welcome to Above and Below, the podcast of the Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention. I'm Sonya Bohmann, the executive director. Unfortunately, Zulk is not joining me today, so you'll have to tune in again to hear him. But I do have a very special guest with me today. Welcome, Dr. Sally Spencer Thomas.
Oh, Sonia, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I'm
Thanks
delighted.
for being here. Thanks for being here. I think this is really special. I'm glad that we have a chance to have you on. I know that there is a very deep and long history with CIASP. So I would guess that most of my listeners know who you are, but why don't we do a little introduction and then maybe talk about that history?
Sure. So I'm a psychologist by training, but I lost my brother to suicide almost exactly 21 years ago. And like many of you who have lost loved ones, that was a before and after moment that put my life on a completely different trajectory. My life before his death and my life after his death have been very different. And like many of you who've lost loved ones, I went on a search for why and what can we do. And that has opened up this whole world of thinking about the workplace as a place to do substantial work around not just suicide prevention, but really helping people thrive in their lives and not having work be a drain on well-being, but actually something that contributes to a vibrant and flourishing life. And so eventually I get connected to construction and Cal Buyer and CFMA. And this really long and beautiful partnership with CIASP has been just an incredible blessing for this whole journey, a silver lining for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing about your brother. I'm so sorry for your loss. Um, I just recently had a conversation with someone about what that means and feels like sometimes when somebody says that, and how I know for me, I almost find it, I don't want to say uncomfortable. It's not that part of it, but it feels so much of a part of now because there's been so much time of who we are. I don't know how you feel about that.
Oh, a bunch of things. I mean, I like when people honor him, especially the people who knew him. And I like when people, where I can feel connected to people that have had a similar loss, because sometimes that's a very lonely road. Not for me now, but I certainly felt that way at the beginning. So when I can serve in that way to say, you're not alone, keep taking steps. Because I remember when I met people that were 15, 20 years out, I thought, how the heck are you still sick?
Yes.
That's what
So
I felt at the
true.
beginning. Yeah.
Mhm.
And today, I really have always had a sense that he walks with me, he's opening doors, he's kicking me in the pants. He is very much still a big part of my life. The relationship's over. It's just changed in some way. I talk to him all the time. I feel like he's inspired me to take bold chances. That's him coming through me. So I feel like he's still with me. So yeah, it is a little complicated. I think when people
Right.
first hear it, it's shocking for them.
Mhm.
Of course, by this point, like I've assimilated that fact into my life. But
That's it exactly. Now that you say it, I've assimilated it into my life. Yeah. Wow. Profound, right? There's so much about this. So let me and I know this wasn't this wasn't of course in our questions, but is this what you thought you were going to be doing with yourself in any way?
no, I don't even know how I got into psychology. A lot of people go, "Oh, I got in because of X, Y, and Z." I don't know. I think I just had really good teachers early on, and I was
Mhm.
interested in people's stories. I knew that I wanted to get a terminal degree because that's just part of grooming when you're in Connecticut. You're just supposed to, I don't know, it's like a whole thing. So I moved out to Colorado. People don't care about that. That's so true. But as I got into the work, I loved learning about it. But then I was like, oh gosh, I'm not meant to be a therapist. And then I was kind of stunned. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Mm.
So I stumbled into leadership development at the university level, and I did really enjoy that, helping young people figure out who they wanted to be in the world and the kind of change they wanted to make. I loved it. And then my brother died by suicide. So I would say I didn't really have a big vision for my life at that time. I was kind of unclear, other than being a mom. That was pretty clear to me. My kids were pretty little. And so I don't know that I had a clear vision at that point. I was kind of in flux anyway. But no, this is definitely not anything I think any of us would have chosen. I think that, it comes to us in one way or another, and we either
Mhm.
feel like the path is something that we can choose or not.
So, switching gears just a tiny bit, let's lighten things up a little bit. Tell us a fun fact about Dr. Sally that nobody knows.
Oh, I'm starting to share this one more. I don't know why it took me so long to remember this, but When I was in, I think it was the 7th or 8th grade, it was middle school, that was our 7th and 8th grade time, you had to make a choice about an elective, and either you were supposed to take home ec, which was for the girls, or you were supposed to take shop, which was for the boys.
Right.
Part of me, I had a little, women power thing happening way back in the day. I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna be pigeonholed." And also, I know where the boys are, so I'm gonna go over to shop. Um, and the skills of cooking and sewing would be really helpful to me now. But I was miserable at shop. The whole measure twice, cut one thing totally escaped me. I was
Right.
welding, carpentry, and printmaking. Printmaking I was kind of good at, but the rest of the two failed miserably. And so, that was my one little sliver
Mm.
adjacent lived experience for the way that I spend 85% of my time now, which is in the construction industry. And I have gained a lot more insight about what it all takes to be in this industry, and I have mad respect.
Wow. So interestingly enough, that just gave me a little flashback because I took the home ec path and I may have had a little entrepreneurial spirit and I was good at sewing. So I made side hustle on sewing people's final project.
Oh, very smart.
I must have made 25 cupcake pillows that year and made some summer spending cash.
I don't know what a cupcake fellow is, but sounds
So that was our project. You had all these felt pieces and you had to put them together and then sew them to make a cupcake as like your final thing you had to do. But if you couldn't get it done in class, you did it at home. So I made a bunch of people's cupcake pillows for them.
there you
And
go.
to this day, I still sew. So,
That's excellent. Yes, I don't sew at all, and that's terrible because I lose a lot of socks and pants and stuff because I can't sew.
right. That's so tell us a little bit about what's happening with it used to be Construction Working Minds, right? And now it is Construction Mental Wellbeing Summit. Do I have the name right now?
Close. Yep.
Okay.
Construction Mental Health and Wellbeing Conference.
Conference. Okay. Tell me about the name change and why.
So, um, I think the main thing was to emphasize the scope and the vision of the organization. I think, like many things that started in the construction space in this area, we started off as a reaction to the data that we were seeing around suicide death. And so it was very suicide focused.
Mm.
And that still is a major issue that we're all trying to address. But I think over the years, the lens has broadened in that now it's much more than just suicide prevention. It's also mental health in general and mental health promotion, just not coping with or addressing
Mhm.
the depression and anxiety and anger side of things, but really looking at how people are flourishing. We also, one whole day is really focused on addiction, recovery, substance use disorder, overdose prevention, because that's an even bigger
Mhm.
problem than suicide. And of course, all of these things are interconnected. I think the other part that we wanted to emphasize in our mission is not only to get people who are struggling into the right supports. That's a big part of our goal, but we're also really challenging the industry to take an honest look at what the drivers are in the industry for despair and distress,
Mhm.
burnout that's leading to these states. It's not enough just to get people to counselors when you keep putting them back in an impossible situation. And so, one of the things we're actually doing at the conference is we're holding an invite only top of the food chain leadership
Mm.
roundtable to talk about what are you doing, leaders, to change the industry by through your
Wow.
and practices to
Mhm.
really take a look at that. It's because of short-term financial gain that's taking a huge toll on the workforce itself, and that's just coming to a head as we're all seeing right now. It's just coming to a head.
Mhm.
So those are some of the things. And then the other piece that we wanted to make sure that people understood is that this isn't just a place where we're going to be spouting statistics and theories and, you know, stuff like that, which I think people largely are at least somewhat aware of today, at least the statistics. But we really want to make sure that people understand that this is a long game, it's a strategy.
Mhm.
And we want to give people some good ideas on where to start, some tools they can implement on Monday, and so we really wanted to have this really practical application priority. And so those are some of the changes that we've made over time.
So it's a new name, but really the same great concept of highlighting what we need to focus on from a cultural standpoint, giving some practical strategies and some key takeaways.
And there'll be people there with all kinds of different experiences. There'll be people there who are brand new. Somebody sent them from the company. They don't even know why they're there. They're just new to the conversation. And so we got to bring them up to speed. We're going to have people there in long term recovery from whatever who are well versed on the personal experience side of things, but want to become a leader in their organization. We're going to have people who've been around the table for 5, 10 years trying to champion this, who are really leading the way and have lots of big questions that they want to solve. And so we're going to address all of those experiences. And hopefully everybody will walk away with a big bucket of action steps that they can take to make things better.
So there's a little bit of something for everyone, but what can a first time attendee expect?
So different things for different folks. I mean, there's folks that are going to come in with lived experience. Maybe they are not disclosed, but maybe they've lost someone. Maybe they themselves have lived through a suicide attempt or are in the beginning stages of their recovery journey from whatever trauma, addiction. What you're going to find is a community. And that's one of the most powerful things that a conference like this brings is a sense of community, a sense of solidarity. It's actually one of the most beautiful demonstrations of solidarity that I've ever seen. A lot of times folks in that room, they can't talk to each other outside of the room because of their very different viewpoints on all kinds of things in the industry. They can't even stick together. But in that room, they stand together. And that sense of we've got each other's back and we've all gone through some things is just so welcoming and relieving for first timers in particular, where they've maybe been trepidatious of even saying anything about their lived experience. They're going to be really wrapped in a warm embrace there and feel validated and feel like they're part of a community that gets it. For the person who maybe got sent there from their HR department or their safety department, and they're like, I don't know why I'm here. I was told to come back with some things. You are going to find structure. You are going to find roadmaps. You are going to find people who have gone down the path, maybe 2 or 3 years ahead of you, who are like, hey, follow me. I got some ideas of things that you can take with you. And so it's going to be feeling very empowering that you are going to be able to come home and have like, here's a place to start kind of answer for your community. And for, the veterans that have been around the table for a long time, I promise you're going to learn something new. I've got ears to the ground in all kinds of areas in this, from, the corporate leaders to the union leaders to the professional associations to the researchers to the clinicians to all the people with lived experience. There is so much to learn. There is so much to learn from each other. And what I always tell my suicide prevention friends who don't always play in this space, but absolutely should, is you need to come over here and take a look at what's going on in construction. They are moving so quickly to find solutions, to find answers. The innovation that is happening in this industry, not just in trainings and programs, but in thinking and peer support and policy, is truly extraordinary and groundbreaking. And everyone, not just the construction industry, everyone can learn about what's happening here. I'm about to do a podcast with Aaron Witt, who is like this
Mhm.
incredible leader trying to challenge the industry as well. And we have both agreed when the construction industry is flourishing, everyone benefits because
Absolutely.
the construction industry is so huge and so essential and touches so many people, whether you know it or not. You are 1 degree of separation from the construction industry in many ways. And so we all need the construction industry to flourish, or we all are going down. So that's just another piece of this, that it really is for everybody. There's different people, obviously, we're recruiting to participate and to share and to, educate and to inspire. But I keep telling my mental health and suicide prevention colleagues, you need to come over here. This is of the 50,000 people that die by suicide each year, 5 to 6,000 are in this one industry. If you really are setting a goal to decrease suicide death in our country, you have got to befriend and come on over and learn from this industry. Sorry.
What I find so special about construction too is that when they lock arms and work together, that's really where magic happens, where real change happens. And we're starting to see that. But I think one of the things that's really special about this particular conference is that it is a space where anyone in the industry, you don't have to be specific to any type of work or any side of the fence, can come together. So, talk a little bit about the inclusivity of this conference, if you can.
I think at the beginning, folks from the safety parts of construction and HR were showing up because they felt like it was related to their role, which it absolutely is. And
Mhm.
that right in and of itself is a fantastic partnership for people from who can see these kinds of challenges from multiple standpoints and also have multiple things they can offer, whether it's leave or benefits or accommodations or, toolbox talks and tying it into job site safety. Like they all bring so much to the table. But I think over time, especially when we say, people who have lived through this, you are welcome, whatever. If you've lived through depression, a suicide attempt, whatever, you are not only welcome, you are at the center of the table. Your voice matters, your stories matter, your insights and wisdom matter here. Then we get all kinds of folks at the table that'll
Mhm.
be open it up to that. So we've had certainly large numbers of apprentices and different kinds of training folks. We've had executives, retirees, chapter leaders who
Mhm.
maybe are really good at running, nonprofit associations, but have a tangential connection. Like everybody, you are all welcome. And I think the other piece that we are really emphasizing, because we're at Portland, which is really a major epicenter of all of this leadership, is also to enroll a lot of the folks in the suicide prevention and mental health community. Lions for Light has been such an incredible leader in this space of innovation, putting the construction care line together, and
Mhm.
a lot of the work from Max Morgulis and all of these aspects, bringing in the mental health and suicide prevention community to be friend and learn from one another is also a big piece of it. So it is such a cool collaboration. Oh, I think the other thing I wanted to mention about this year's conference that's really exciting is many people are aware that a good part of the construction workforce is Spanish first and Spanish only. And we are putting an emphasis on that, as you know, because talk about it all the time.
We
It's
do.
more than it's more than just translation. Translation is
Mhm.
part of it for the access to resources and the access to supports and understanding what's happening in the trainees is absolutely a part of it. But there's also a lot of nuanced and important cultural aspects that we have to
Yes.
address as well. So while we won't have full translation services throughout the whole piece, we are definitely welcoming folks who are very much invested in the Spanish speaking construction worker mental health and well-being priorities, because that's going to be a bigger emphasis this year.
I think that's gonna be incredible at opening those conversations for sure. So I have 2 questions. 1, if you are a returning attendee, what is something they can expect that maybe they haven't seen before?
Couple of things. One is another. So the first one was that I just mentioned. We haven't had
Mhm.
that emphasis before, and we're doing it in a couple of spaces. Another one is we've been really focused on the end user, um, of the person who's struggling. And this year we are also focused on the family,
Mhm.
knowing that there's a lot of things that happen in the industry that put a lot of strain on marriages and parenting.
Mm.
We're also making that a major talking point, is that the family too is part of this industry. So how when we support the family, we support the industry and vice versa. So that's going to be a big emphasis. I think a very exciting reveal that we're going to have at the conference is the whole. Some people are aware, some people are not. Moving Mates in Construction to the United States. Mates in Construction, of course, is a program that has been going on in Australia for, I think, 30 years now. They have tons of
Mhm.
return on investment studies and demonstrating
Right.
decreases in suicide death. And it's all about peer support, but very structured and scalable. It's an amazing initiative that now does, way more than just connecting people to resources. It's a fully fledged initiative. And so we've been looking at what does that mean to bring this program from a country that's much smaller and less complicated in many ways than the United States to the United States? And this will be the reveal of what they've decided after a year plus of
Mhm.
due diligence around feasibility and focus groups and surveys and enrolling key stakeholder and partners and so forth. What the at least first passes will look like with a pilot in partnership with Qantas Services. So that will be very exciting. We'll have a couple of our Australian partners at the table for that plenary panel, and then some of the implementers who are like, yeah, we're going to try it out and we're going to see how it goes. And we hope you all, come alongside because this could be amazing for our country to adopt this very space program here to really save lives.
That's
So those are
incredible.
some of the three highlights that I would shine a light on. There's more, of course.
But we don't wanna give everything away, right?
It's
How to keep a little
trauma.
bit of something.
Trauma is another piece that we're going to put a bigger spotlight
Okay.
on this year, and its connection
Wow.
because there's lots of job site exposures of
Mhm.
trauma that again we don't really talk about as connected to
Right.
people's well-being. So
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like a jam-packed agenda with lots of exciting things for people to come away with. Speaking of sort of coming away with, I have another question that what do you think if you were to kind of as a retrospect look at the last few years of conferences, what were some of the highlights for you?
well, I think the first conference is always very special.
Mhm.
And that is always another I have so many Cal Buyer stories, but that's one of my favorites. Cal Buyer and I standing in front of the CFMA, the Construction Financial Management Association's, board of trustees, and we're both crying. This is one of my favorite Cal Buyer stories. We're both crying, saying, "We need you." Like, it can't be just Cal and Sally out here trying to make a difference. We need you. And, for a room full of accountants to say, okay, let's give it a go. And of course, that was the seeds eventually turned into CIASP. That's one of my favorite Cal
Mhm.
Meyer stories. And then this is another. This was December of 21. I turned to Cal and I said, wouldn't it be great? Would it be great if we got the Vital Cog trainers? Vital Cog instruction is, that short help community helper training that helps people have conversations. And it was starting, it was just launching. And I said, would it be great if we got those trainers together and like started to develop a community of the trainers? I'm thinking like 50 people, maybe a half day conversation, strategic planning, networking kind of thing. And Cal says, "Oh, you're thinking too small. Let's test that idea and make it a national conference." So between December of 2021 and May of 2022, we put out a national conference. I don't know how the hell we did it.
Amazing.
So
Wow.
seeing them honestly show up with very little
Mhm.
time or very little awareness of what the heck we were doing was incredibly rewarding. And that sense of solidarity was there from the beginning.
Mhm.
So that was very special. I think there have been, a couple of times where the house has come down. People are leaping to their feet
Mhm.
because they are feeling emboldened, to stand
Mhm.
in the arena in a place that's hard, but they know that they can do it because they have the energy of all these other people around them. So that sense of being refueled, because sometimes you're out there doing the work and you're like, does anybody care? Are we making any progress? I don't know.
Right.
I'm tired. And then you come
Mhm.
to this conference and it's just this energy where you're like, oh my gosh, you're doing hard things too, hard things too. And it feels less hard when we do it
Yeah.
together. So while it wasn't necessarily something a speaker said or,
Mhm.
the magical tool that came off the platform, it was this sense of, you know, shared mission
Right.
that is from the soul. So it's not like, oh, we're going to make $1 billion if we don't do this project. It is together we're going to save lives. Together we are going to help alleviate this intolerable suffering. And we are going to build a stronger industry because of the energy in this room, because of what really matters in people's lives. And that stuff contagious. And it gives me goosebumps every time
Mhm.
I'm with because it's just incredible.
That's exciting. I think that if people haven't signed up yet, they need to do so. I know my conference, the one that I attended was amazing, and I have what I feel like are lifelong allies that walk this path along with me and have really been integral in making the growth that we have had over the last few years what it is, you included. So tell us some important dates that people need to get registered by.
Sure, and I'm not sure that people know this either, but Sonia and I were co-chairs
You are.
in
That's right.
2023. That's when I got to know you best.
Mhm.
And again, arms with you has been incredibly important for this movement because you have connections with everyone. And the tools that you are bringing, we're going to have a plenary panel as well with some of your
Excited.
trustees and some of your,
Mhm.
partnership implementation. And so we're going to hear all about that as well. And so that's going to be another great thing. The deadlines, unfortunately, many of them have passed. So pay attention for next year. Um, for toolbox talks deadlines and awards deadlines and scholarship deadlines. But really, the deadline that I want you to all to focus on right now is register. Register right because 2 weeks before the conference starts, the prices go up to incentivize you to register ahead of time so we can best accommodate food and space and all that. There's nothing worse for an event planner than having 100 people register on the day of. So please register early and avoid the penalty of an increased price. And also, the hotel will probably sell out because it has in the last couple of years. So the conference itself is the 23rd to the 26th. That has 2 days of pre-conference. One is a storytelling retreat. Definitely sign up for that if you feel like there's a story to tell about your own recovery from loss, attempts, thoughts, addiction, whatever. Your stories matter. We also are having a Vital Cog convening finally, 5 years later, on that first day on the full day of pre-conference stuff. So these are certificate bearing workshops. Vital Cog is one. There are several others in the area of peer support and psychological first aid and resilience and many other areas where you can start to build up your portfolio of credentials in this space of suicide prevention and mental health promotion in construction. And then the regular conference is the 25th and 26th. Again, Portland, Oregon at the Marriott down on the riverfront. We're going to do a lot of wellness activities like net walking. Hadn't heard of that term before, but net walking.
What is that now?
It's where you walk, so you get your exercise in the morning, but the goal is to meet people. Um,
Oh, like networking. Now I got it. I'm like, what is that? I'm thinking like a net. I was worried for a hot minute, but okay. All right. I love that.
I know it took me a hot second too. I'm like, what are you saying?
I like it
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah. And then I let people know who haven't attended in the past. This event is fun. I know it sounds weird to
It
say
is
that a
fun.
suicide prevention, addiction recovery, is a fun event. It's fun. We're adding dancing this year to the
Oh,
awards ceremony, which is
okay.
dressed as you want, but some people like to get a little fancy, which is fun. Yeah, we're gonna have a social networking event. We're working with some, big opportunities there. I was surprised, but some
Okay.
exciting places to have fun events. And yeah, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna laugh, we're gonna cry, we're gonna hold hands, we're gonna hug, and we're gonna learn a ton. We're gonna learn a ton from each
Excellent.
other.
Well, I am looking forward to it. So, one of the things as we wrap up our conversation that Zolk and I always ask our guest is we ask about a word of the year. So, we started this at CIASP last year and we carried it all through 2025. And my word of the year last year was intentionality. So, my word of the year for 2026 has changed and it is solidarity for 2026 and that we are stronger when we link arms and we are more productive when we do it together and that we can do good things when we do them as one. So what is your word of the year or what would be your word of the year as you're thinking about this if you have not yet?
So honestly, the word that's been banging around my head, maybe for the last, I don't know, couple of years. I'm 58. I'm not going anywhere, but when you get to this point in your life and in your career, you start to get focused on
Mhm.
what is my life about? What piece I'm leaving behind that's going to carry on without me? And how do I build that today to empower others to lead and create change who maybe don't see that in themselves? And today I'm at the UA in Dallas, Texas, in Local 100, and that's exactly what's happening. Is that we've been empowering the union, honestly, partnering with their leadership to say, how do we build inside of this massive international organization the infrastructure to do this work well, with checks and balances and guardrails and all this stuff to continue to expand the impact. And so right now I'm up here doing this podcast with you, and our UA trainers are downstairs and they're knocking it out of the park better than I could ever do because they understand what it feels like to be in this industry. And that to me is so much like where I'm at right now. It's just to think about how do we get people and empower them, not just to do a training or an awareness, but like to build the infrastructure that sustains this long term. So my word is legacy. That uh, pulling myself back in a lot of things. I rolled off the board of the United Survivors. I'm rolling off all these big things and just making sure that what's left behind has enough to keep going and it's expanding and growing and evolving. And so as I do that, then, I can also focus in some ways in areas of my life that have much attention. caring for my father who's not been well, and our family, and just like it feels good. So again, I'm not going anywhere. Probably won't ever retire fully, but this idea of like shift in thinking from doing the stuff
Sure.
to really supporting others in their growth and development.
I think that's beautiful. And just know that your legacy has farther reach than you possibly could have imagined. And the lives that you've touched has been immeasurable. So thank you for everything that you do. I am very excited to see you in person in February. So from the time this plays to then, it'll probably just be a few short weeks. So I look forward to that.
Yes, excellent. And for people who want to dig into the conference, constructionmentalhealth.org is a place to go to get all the details. We'll see you there.
See you there. Thanks so much.
Thank you.